Mate, how good is this, eh? A couple of days away. I mean, you're in the best place in the world right now?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this place is very special to me, obviously. It's, the Great Race is special to a lot of people for lots of different reasons. The fans here, again, this year are, coming in their droves as they do. And, mate, appreciating the weather's been phenomenal. Actually, it's maybe the best first couple of days I think I've ever experienced here, to be honest.
Saw that photo of you and Lownsy beside the 1996 Holden, mate. Wow. Memories.
Yeah, and that's what it's about. There's a huge contingent of heritage touring cars here this year, all walks of life from way back through the 90s and the 80s and even the 70s. And it's a great place to obviously bring them all back and showcase a bit of that history. And yes, Lownsy and I've got a car or two in there that mean a lot to us. Ben Eggleston, who restored that car, is out there peddling it around, and I'm very jealous that I'm not actually in it myself, but he's got a few more that he intends to bring back next year, including Lownsy's and mine 96 Bathurst winner as well. So, we'll be fighting over who gets to drive it, I think.
How easy, hard, or whatever is it to drive that car compared to a modern day's one right now?
No, not at all. They were very good. I mean, it might be, nearly 30
years old, yeah.
But the fact of it is, they were very good. And to be fair, the philosophy of a supercar or Group A car back in the mid late 90s, the philosophy today is still very similar. We construct them differently. There's a bit more focus on some other areas around safety and the likes, but they were quality machines. And back in 96, we were doing 2-minute 10, 2-minute 11 laps, which when you think about the age difference there, the fact that, today's supercars are doing sort of 205s and 206s or maybe 204s, it's not a massive increase. And a lot of that's got to do with tyre development and those kinds of things as well, bit of engine performance. So it's not a massive shift. And to drive them, for people like me that were used to it, and even younger guys that are getting the chance to have the odd steer, they just love it because there's no downforce, very low downforce. They were built very well with great understanding, great engineering back then. So you'd be surprised how good they are to drive.
Bathurst legend Greg Murphy is with us. I'll ask you about all the current drivers and everything. I've just got so many questions about the past, mate. I always love talking to you about this kind of stuff. Did you have to really drive that car, Greg? How physically taxing was it?
The one I'm driving this weekend, or
the one this weekend. Plus, also there's cars when you won it.
No, the one I'm driving this weekend again is a few years older than say the 95 car that's running around, and there is quite a difference between those two cars. They change quite markedly. The car that I'm in, it doesn't have the horsepower. It's got actually a Holden derived engine, not a Chevy derived engine in it. 5-speed gearbox, not 6-speed. And so it's not like it's physically more difficult or to drive. It just doesn't perform quite as good. The way I drive it, is because I've got so much history or so many laps around here and knowledge and experience. You just adapt and make the most of it and don't over push it. You've got to respect that it is early 90s technology, so you've got to be a little bit careful. But, I love it. I really do. I've got a big love of the history of it and love, showcasing the stuff in front of all the fans.
Greg, when you're driving that track, is there any time at all during any of those laps where you get to relax, or is that when a mistake is made? Do you have to be fully, absolutely concentrated, focused the whole time, or is there a time on that course where you can go, okay, I'm okay for even a handful of seconds here?
Yeah, I mean, Bathurst does give you that opportunity a little bit because of the Conrod Straight being as long as what it is. You can actually just sort of take a breath and unless you're under pressure. If you're under pressure and you're actually in a fight, in a battle, then no. The Conrod disappears very quickly at 280, 290 kilometres an hour. So, you depending on, what race you're actually in at the time has a bearing on it. But it's not a physically demanding track as such. And these days, all the current drivers have all got cool suits and all sorts of other bits and pieces. But it's mentally demanding. It is absolutely mentally demanding. So you do need to sometimes just try and take a little break and take a breath, before you, when you can, because of that mentally demanding side of things.
We talk about the physical and mental side of it. What is the emotional drain on you? I mean, because there must be times that during the race there's a guy in front of you who's pissing you off. There's something that's happened at the back. Maybe the pit crew hasn't done it quite right. How do you dismiss those kind of thoughts from your brain?
I might not have been so good at that, right?
There's a couple of times, mate. There's a couple of times, yeah.
Yeah, probably not dealing with it. And sometimes it's challenging. That actually comes to, in many cases, good leadership, good management within the team to actually deal with it and give the driver what he needs as far as communication over the radio to calm down and get things together. And it depends on what time of the race it is. I mean, if something goes wrong early in the race and you're still on the lead lap, you've still got a lot of time to come back. And that's something you've got to take into account in this race. And we've seen over the last few years, at times, things being done very early in the race, which has compromised or put people out of it. 2022 was an example in the wet, start of the race. There was some absolute dead set chaos that happened and put a lot of cars out very early. And that's a lack of sort of experience, lack of maturity, lack of leadership by the race team to keep their drivers in check and remind them that it's a long, long day at the mountain, and sometimes that's not done as good as it should.
Lounsey, WinCup GT, these guys, why aren't you co-driving, man?
Too old and crusty.
Yeah,
mate. I walked away from it in 14, went into TV, and I was happy with that. I didn't want to stay as a co-driver and do that role, and I was done, and then I was happy with that. So bought back in 22 to do the wild card was not something I'd planned on or thought was going to happen. So it's something where I'm comfortable with it. Other guys aren't comfortable; they still want to do it, and they've got other reasons or other involvements in the sport which allows them to do it. My situation is different.
Greg Murphy with us. So, when I look at this race and it's 161 laps and so many things can happen, you get safety cars. We saw Van Gisbergen years ago just dump the clutch in the pits and lose a race. I mean, it can happen at any time. So what are the actual keys to winning? Is it the perfect storm? Do you have to have every bit of the jigsaw pieced together plus a little bit of road luck, whatever that means? Totally.
I mean, you've got to roll out these days. I mean, I won the 99 with Stephen Richards with definitely not the fastest car, which these days you do have to have a car that is fast. That's changed. We didn't have the fastest car. It wasn't bad, but it was two good drivers in the car together that understood the roles, knew what we had to do, no ego involved in it, a team that delivered a very good strategy and serviced the car in good time, and we didn't make any mistakes, and we won that race that day because others had misfortune, made mistakes, all those kinds of things. Today you've got to have it all. It's too competitive, it's too close. Safety cars are one of the things you can't control and do play a part in outcomes, but you just can't make mistakes. You've got to have a good car, you've got to have two very good drivers that deliver the appropriate performance for what they're there to do.
All right, then, let's talk it through. Matty Payne, great lap yesterday, setting the pace and things. So he's going to be hot. Who else?
That was a good start by them. That gives you confidence. They're obviously clearly pretty comfortable with the car, which is good. Some issues yesterday for Scott Pye and the Will Brown Championship leading car. They'll rebound from that. It was one of those things, bit of a mistake. It's going to tighten up today. Obviously, qualifying Friday afternoon qualifying session is always one to look out for, and that really gives us the real good read on where things are sitting. So there's a bunch of cars out there that are just finding their feet at the moment. The Molstead car is going to be good, I believe. The Waters car is going to be good. The two Red Bull cars will be good. There's a list of them at the moment. I'm not willing really at this stage to put my money on anybody.
Oh, I can't wait, mate. It's just, do you understand? I mean, you've been around it so much driving there, but do you understand why the fans get as berserk about this as they do? Yeah, I do. And there's lots of meaning. Well, I was, getting dinner last night talking to a guy, his two sons were there, his two adult sons. He's been coming for over 35 years. Wow. And his sons have been coming with him for 15 years, non-stop. It's a pilgrimage. They might not go to any other races during the year, but they come here, and because Bathurst means a lot, it's folklore, it's history. I'm driving this weekend in a heritage car with all these amazing cars, and there's just absolutely just crowds of people looking at them.
And that, to me, tells you why Bathurst is Bathurst.
That's the coolest thing, isn't it? I mean, this is a, I know that everything happens so fast these days, and the younger generations just want everything right now, and no one likes talking about, what it was like. But there is still that, isn't it? I mean, guys and girls walking around kicking tyres in the car park of cars, mate. That to me is as essential as the actual get, set, go.
It's as Aussie and as Kiwi as it gets, mate.
Yeah, man.
And there's no shortage of it. It's far from dead. So anyone that doesn't like the smell of fuel,
go on.
It's going to be around a long time, so get used to it.
And what about that up on the hill? Because Eric Thompson, who was telling us yesterday, mate, he said he went in 1981. He said there was about a decade there where even the police wouldn't go up there at night. They were burning all kinds of stuff.
I can't believe he survived. I can't believe he's still alive. Yeah. I was up there last night, mate. The crowd is fantastic.
Go on.
Things have changed up there, and it is just mega. The campground, what people do up there, the enjoyment they have. It's calmed down a bit, but people are here to enjoy themselves and reminisce and talk crap and enjoy the cars.
Yeah.
And it's alive and well.
And finally, mate, and thank you so much for your time as always. I love talking to you about this kind of stuff. This race in the world of motor racing. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say it's Le Mans. It is the Indy 500. It deserves to be in the conversation with the greatest motor racing races in the world, does it not?
100%. There is no doubt about it. And you just go overseas and go to Spa or go to Le Mans, go to all these other places, other racetracks with other categories, and they will tell you exactly the same thing.